Welcome to Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week we have comedian Carter Dockerty, based out of Chicago, up-and-coming comedian. Love him so much. You guys will love this episode. Fun episode. The sound might be a little hot, so you might have to turn down at parts. If you don't already, go watch this podcast. If you're listening, you can go watch it at the YouTube page, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Paul F Comedy. Make sure you follow Carter on Instagram and also follow me if you don't follow me on Instagram as well. Subscribe to the YouTube page. Go to my website, Paul F Comedy, for upcoming dates, including my monthly show at the Laugh Factory, stand-up sit-down, the last two Fridays in March. March 31st, I'll be back hosting it. Stand-up sit-down at Laugh Factory in Chicago. I'll be in Florida at McCurdy's, headlining on March 19th and 23rd, and then headlining Tampa Side Splitters for an early show on Saturday, March 22nd. Then I'm off to Minneapolis on April 4th at the Comedy Corner Underground, and then in Duluth on April 5th. I'll be in DC at the DC Loft with Paul Ollinger as part of the Two Pauls One show, April 11th and 12th, and then I'll be in Boston on April 27th. Again, paulfcomedy.com for upcoming dates and all the ticket information on those shows, as well as upcoming shows I have beyond that in Vegas, Florida, all sorts of places coming up soon. If you haven't already, give us a review. And if you review the podcast, wherever you're listening or watching, send me the review at pfarahvar@gmail.com, and I'll send you one of these cool pins. It's just the logo over here. Logo. It's a cool pin. It's high end, and it's free shit. Thank you for listening. Again, I really appreciate it. And thank you all for coming to the shows too. We had so many cool people at the Two Pauls One show last week, all over the Midwest, I should say. Also, check out our sponsors. Hey gang, as some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time, I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome. It's time for another edition of Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week we have a very funny comedian, up-and-comer, hardworking kid, Carter Dockerty.
Hello. Oh, you forgot the T. Dockerty.
There's a T.
Oh, wait. You said.
I said Dockerty.
I'm already critiquing. I'm sorry.
Oh, did I say Dockerty?
I'm coming off combative already.
I did say Dockerty.
Yeah, well, because it was spelled Dougherty, and I changed it to that like right before I moved here because it's pronounced Dockerty.
Yeah.
But then I got here and I said
Dockerty.
Well, there's a comic here, Erickson Dockery. So as soon as I got here, everybody just started saying that whenever they introduced me because they were like, oh, it's got to be the same last name because it looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
Except for one letter. So now I usually don't correct.
Yeah.
And then the one time I decided to.
Yeah, you
actually did spell it right.
All right, well, we're out of time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm trying to come off more friendly and inviting. That's like
you're really
goal.
fun. You're really funny and fun and nice and inviting,
Well,
I think.
Thank you.
We worked together in Ohio the first time.
Yes.
You lived there at the time.
I lived there. We worked at the Liberty Funny Bone, where I was a door guy for a while. We worked with Dave Landau.
Oh, yeah. I was just with him last week.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, he was like the first guy I ever hosted for at the Funny Stop in Cuyahoga Falls.
Oh, yeah. That guy hated me.
Yeah, I think he loved that my whole family came out to every show that I did.
Okay.
So,
were you hosting for us, or did you do a guest spot?
Like I was gonna just come do a guest spot, and then Dave was like, "Why don't we don't have a host at all? Why doesn't he just host?"
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe it was a 2-man. God, I don't remember any of this.
Well, that was like during COVID when every comedy club was just doing 2-mans for some reason.
Okay.
I mean, nobody likes it, I think.
I don't mind it if it's a situation where it's a comedy club where most people don't know who the headliner is. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
Like you're just as they don't know you. They don't know 90% of the thing. But when it's someone that they're there to see, you have like 2 minutes to get their attention.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
I don't
they're
mind
gonna check
hosting
out.
a hot show.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's usually not what you're tasked with.
Oh, you're talking about hosting for a club at like Ohio or Funny Bones.
Most gigs that I get.
That's what you're doing? No, you're on the road now.
Well, yeah, I guess sometimes I do fun stuff, but I don't know. A lot of times it's
Aren't you featuring sometimes?
Yeah, occasionally.
You're on the road right now. What are you doing when I asked you to do a show? You're like, I'm already booked.
April I'm gone.
This weekend.
This weekend I'm going to Toledo to do the Funny Bone.
You are very funny, Carter.
Oh, thank you, Paul. You're very funny.
For you. You did my show at the Laugh Factory, and your interview was awesome.
Oh.
I have to send it to you, so we'll collab on that, or I'll do it, or you want to do it. You're probably better.
I'm trying to, because I love interview shows. Like that's because I like the one at Comedy Bar too.
Oh yeah.
Because I like just when there's an audience. So I'm trying to like get that energy that I have when I do podcasts. But so far I'm just talking how I would normally talk, and I'm like, I need to pretend like I'm going to an audience.
Some places don't let hosts do crowd work.
Yeah, that's the thing in like Ohio, like small town clubs. And I don't know, for some odd reason it's different in Chicago. Like the clubs want you to do it. But like literally it's a rule, no crowd work.
At Funny Bones?
Yeah, well at the Funny Stop that I started at, no crowd work. Then like the Funny Bones tell you to do no crowd work. The Bark Entertainment clubs, they like send you a MC sheet and it says to not do any crowd work.
Oh really?
Yeah. But I
didn't know that.
But also back in the day, I thought it was classic that you had to ask if there were any birthdays or like what people were celebrating. I thought that was like old timey host stuff.
The way I was taught to host was you do a little crowd work, you do material that weaves in, and then you weave out, weave in, but you end on a joke as a host.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's something that kind of I like that they said no crowd work, because it like kind of let me like pussy into it, where like I could just be like, couldn't do any crowd work because I'm not allowed to. Because
if you didn't have a good set, you mean?
Well, no, it's just like I didn't know how to do it at all. And the only gigs that you're offered when you're in like a small Midwest scene is hosting at the club. There's not really many showcases. But
like the stuff that you do off the cuff, especially if you have your podcast now, if you like that stuff, you should just do it. No club is going to be like, I mean, I think if you talk to the headliner, he's got the ultimate say.
Oh yeah, no. Now I do it. Even those bar clubs even say to not do it, but I just do it because it's like
fucking rebel.
Well, yeah. I know all the like managers at this point. They come up to their like good set, but if they were like to be like they said to don't do that, I would probably not do it. But if it's like there's 20 people and it's Sunday, the only way that this is going to go well is if I ask everybody how their church went.
They need to know a little bit. The headliner, if I'm headlining, I don't like the feature doing crowd work, but I like that host doing it. Because that's how I
with the person I tour with often, I host for her mainly, and she lets me do crowd work, but not the feature. Feature's
not supposed to do it.
Yeah.
That's the way I also agree with that, because then it just sets up the show horribly. But the host, I think, always should do it. We did a show for Bark recently. I did a show Bark where I was featuring for a friend, and the host did only crowd work.
Really?
Yeah. The headliner hates crowd work, and he specifically told me not to, and I was like, I already know not to. I'm featuring. He's like, okay, well, why is he doing only? I go, well, he's the host. He's like, no, I told them not to have it. And he still did it.
Well,
the comic likes to do crowd work.
I mean, he's hosting.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like you can.
We're talking inside baseball.
Yeah. Oh wait, we got to get to being up late, I guess.
Well,
on
first
the road.
I want to talk to you about.
Chop.
We'll talk about everything. But first, you grew up in Ohio.
Yes.
You're 14 now? How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 23. I'll be 24.
Are you really 23?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
April 25th, 2001.
You are. I bet you I'm older than your parents.
I have young parents too.
How old are your parents?
My mom is 43.
I'm way older than your parents.
My dad is 45.
Is it true that she named you after Carter?
No. I was just named
president?
first, and then the other ones fell in line because they were like, well, what else goes with Carter? And they were like, well, he is a president. And so then the other ones were presidents as well. I got a sister named Madison and a brother named Jackson and a little baby sister, Barack Obama. And then Kennedy.
Okay.
And my brother's actually been a long time dating a lady named Reagan.
Well, there you go.
Which really is funny.
That kid's going to be a Bush. What were you like as a kid? Were you like a party kid or were you kind of a nerd?
In high school, well, I was like the kid that like really wanted to go to the parties and like tried his best to get invited and usually showed up, but then got way too fucked up at the party and like embarrassed himself, but thought he was being funny the whole time. And everybody else was like, this guy's kind of weird, but...
Were you popular though?
Like everybody knew me. And
but you weren't like a jock or anything.
Well, I played sports and I was friends with all the sports people. Like, okay. I was popular.
Okay.
But I was very, I think I was a polarizing figure.
How so?
Well, in high school, my senior superlative was most opinionated. I love to get into arguments about politics.
Oh, really?
Oh, I was a red-pilled high schooler. I love to spew my
Big Tucker Carlson fan.
I got a "Don't Tread on Me" tattoo on my arm when I was 16.
When I was in high school, I had a poster of Ronald Reagan.
Oh yeah, we talked about this.
And I had a Richard Nixon poster, and I had a Clarence Thomas poster.
Wow, that sounds like my stepdad's office.
Yeah, I was a huge Republican, and then I got educated and realized that that's not the party anymore. That's not true. I went back and forth, but anyway.
Yeah, so I started comedy and wanted to get booked. No, I didn't.
No, it's not true. Actually, it's funny because lately on Facebook, I have been being very political and shit. Just from the legal aspect of shit, because as you can see, I'm a fucking lawyer. Mm-hmm. Fucking people are losing their minds because I do a lot of shows in the South and Florida and stuff, and holy shit.
Yeah, your Florida fan base is probably gonna be fired up.
Oh, I lost so many fans. I'm just like, okay. And people were like, you should just stick to comedy. You don't know anything about the law. I'm like, do you listen to my like a couple of my friends like, do you guys know Paul? Like, he's always been like that. I call it out on both sides too, but mostly lately. Anyway, so you were opinionated. Were you surrounded with people like an echo chamber, or were you like the opposite?
Well, like I grew up in the age of the internet, so I just was watching like feminists get owned compilations, and then just like or like reading like the people that I follow on Twitter, and I'm like, well, I can pick up all these facts, and so like, and then I remember my economics class was taught like, what's that method where everybody's like in a circle and you get to just talk, the Socratic, yeah. And so then I just would like get to argue, and I could just like dump out all the stuff that I had been like soaking up on the internet the night before. Yeah. I just was like consuming, and then I got to come into class, and then they were like, the topic would be, so how do we feel about a progressive tax bracket? I'm like, well, it's actually fucking bullshit. And then I could like say something about how it actually impedes on our freedom, and like,
were your teachers liberals?
Well, I got super lucky because it's an economics teacher, so he was like, actually, Carter's got some points here. So sometimes I would get backed up, even though he would usually put the reins on me. Yeah. But I would always, and I would get out of class feeling like I'm the smartest fucking guy ever, because I'm just like, nobody really cared. Like I cared. Everybody was like, sure, man, yeah.
Nobody cared about politics in my school either. My friends would call me senator because I would just like argue, and they're like, what are you doing? Were you like getting good grades though too, or were you just...
No. I just think like I can regurgitate information, and then like I did well on some tests, but I was very like, I was also usually high at school, never did homework, usually was the guy like asking somebody to copy their homework and stuff like that.
How'd you do in your ACT?
I think I got a 29.
That's good.
Yeah. I think I got a 29, and I told everybody I got a 30 because my best friend got a 29. So I
one of them.
Can't remember which one's the lie and which one.
So what did you do with that? Did you go to college or anything?
I went to Miami of Ohio.
Oh, that's a really good school.
Yeah, for a couple of years.
Oh yeah, we did talk about this.
Yeah, and then I forego my final year.
Really?
Yeah, but according to my resume, I have a degree.
Let me ask you this. Let's go back to high school. Were you like, you were on the sports did you play?
I played football and I wrestled. Never really touched the field playing football. My school was like super good. We were number 9 in the nation.
Really?
Yeah.
What did you play?
I played outside linebacker. I tried to play inside linebacker for a while.
You're small though.
I was like 230 at the beginning of my senior football season. Okay. Because I just like got like ballooned up and was good in the weight room, just wasn't actually athletic at all. Okay.
And what about with the ladies? Were you picking up chicks?
I was what you would call like the horniest guy ever. I was getting it in, but in a way of like, I was bragging about it.
Consensually.
But yeah. A slut as a man, and would just, fuck boy. But not like in the cool way. Like, I don't want to sound misogynistic.
They were
but
like 3s out of 10.
They were not very attractive, which it's fucked up to say, but
it's accurate.
I would just have sex with people that would...
Anyone that would have sex with you.
Yeah, anybody that would have sex with me.
I think every guy was like that, but they would hide it.
See, I liked my actions, though, being like a butt of the joke. I guess this isn't stooping very low, but every summer we would go pregame at the country concerts because they had like a country fest all summer at this music venue near where I grew up. And you would just pregame no matter if you were going into the concert or not because it was a place where you could drink. And so I got like pretty fucked up, and then we would sneak in. I snuck into the concert, and it was like a Dierks Bentley concert. The main goal was to just grind on a lady that was in front of you at the concert and hope that she didn't turn around and smack you. Which this is a while ago, so this isn't now.
This is the 80s.
Yeah, this is when that was okay.
It was okay. Yeah.
I don't do this now.
You were 16.
Yeah, I was 16. I was 15 at the time, so I hadn't had my license yet. But I was trying to grind on a lady, and she was quite short, and she was quite wide. Yeah, and she had like dyed red pom poms of the African American persuasion. I started to grind up on her, and we started getting a little frisky to Dierks Bentley, and then my buddy Owen just like hits me. He's like, "What are you doing, bro?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, what am I gonna do? And so she turns around and she grabs my face, and we start making out. And I'm like, oh, what high school do you go to? And she's like, oh, I graduated from Manchester. And I was like, oh, what year? And she said like 10 years prior. She was like,
oh wow,
upper 20s, yeah. And then I was like, oh my goodness, that's where my aunt went. Do you know? And she graduated around then. Do you know my Aunt Carly? And she was like, oh yeah, we were like friends. And then I was like, oh, that's crazy.
So she didn't know you were 15.
No, and then we were making out, and then we keep grinding. And then she's like, come with me, and she grabs my arm, and we go over. There's like these bathrooms that are in an L.
Yeah.
And then in the space that would make a full square is like a bunch of bushes and shrubbery. And she pulls me, and my buddy Owen goes, what are you doing, bro? And I'm like, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
And then we go back into the woods, and she pulls my pants down, and she starts giving me fellatio, and then she lays on her back and lifts up her skirt and goes, now your turn. And I was like, and then she goes, well, just fuck me then. And I was like, all right. And then I proceeded to have sex with her, and then
that was how you lost your virginity?
No, this was probably after.
Oh, you already know, so you knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
You're a pro.
I made her come. No, she definitely did not come from this. But then as soon as I was about to come, I was like, oh, I'm not wearing a condom. So I pull out, and then I came on her stomach. Then like that kind of flushed my whole brain of like, you're having sex outside at a concert and you're 15. Get out of here. So I just got up and I sprinted away as she was dressed in my jizz. And I got back to my buddy Owen. He was like, what happened? I was like, we got to get out of here. We left the concert.
Have you talked to her since?
No, I actually don't remember the name of the lady.
Did that get out that happened?
Yeah. Because my buddy Owen was on the football team, and that was like during the summer. So then during the locker room talks, he was like, bro, you should have got us who Carter got with it. And everybody's like, oh, Carter, you dirty dog. And I'm like, is that me or is that me? Huh?
You liked it because it was attention.
And I thought of myself as like being funny for doing things like that.
You're willing to be the butt of the joke, like you said.
But it feels disrespectful, but also that lady was older, so she was
if anyone, she was the one taking advantage of it.
So I get a pass.
She could be arrested in some cities.
Yep.
So you were doing her a favor by running away. Okay, so you already lost your virginity by 15?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't think it was too far before that. I think I was 15 when I lost my virginity. So yeah, I think it was a couple months before that.
Kid, then.
Yeah. I lost my virginity. I had bought my car already, but I didn't have my license. So I I remember
your parents bought you a car? You bought it?
I bought a car because I worked at the pizza place up the street. I was a cook, and then I bought the car so I could be a delivery driver there because you make bank doing that.
Yeah.
So I saved up, and then I bought it, but I was like, I'm gonna buy it now because I found this good deal on a car, but I can't get my license for another year. But I late at night would just drive and sneak around. I had DM'd this girl that I used to go to school with, and I didn't know her since like 5th grade. But then I just had like DM'd her over Instagram, and we had started talking. She was like the kind of girl that wore like cat ears to high school, and that's I guess this isn't a thing that existed around you. So in my age, there's ladies that think they're cats.
Yeah, she identified as a cat.
Yeah, she just wore, when we hung out, she was wearing a headband that had cat ears on it. But
so you drove to her house.
Yeah, and literally like all we had see, this is growing up in the age of the internet. We had messaged over Instagram. I hadn't seen her in however many years that is since 5th grade, and so we just DM'd over Instagram, and then I got her on Snapchat, and then eventually she's just sending me pictures of her boobs. I guess this is illegal. She was sending me child porn.
You're both 15.
Oh yeah, so it's okay if I get child porn if I'm a child. Yeah. Is that really legally?
Yeah, I mean it's not. Yeah, it depends on the state. I don't know the statutory age in Ohio. Do you know it?
16.
Okay, so I think you would probably be fine.
Did you always have a thing of like girls in your high school that like got their? I guess nudes weren't a thing.
No, we didn't have cameras yet. They had Polaroids.
But yeah, I feel like every high school has like nowadays like a girl sends nudes and then it gets around the school and everybody's like, oh, but that's just a fact of life now.
That's now. Okay,
so let's go back. The girl was sending me boob pics, and then eventually it just got to the point where it's like, well, let's go have sex. So we have never even like talked or met, but we like agreed to like we're both virgins, let's have sex. And so then we just met up, and I took her to a park, and we had sex. We tried to have sex in my backseat, and this is where fucked up. She was we couldn't fit in the back. She was too big. She's a bigger girl. She was a bigger gal, and
you didn't know that at the time because of the pictures that were sent, or you did?
Like definitely bigger than I thought. But like Snapchat, like you can easily
there's filters.
Yeah, and I just was like, the lady, all she wants to do is just meet up and have sex. This is like the ideal lady of all time.
So it's just a one and done.
Yeah, and this is something I'm trying to fix about my brain because that's a fucked up. Yeah, well, that's why college was so sick, because then like girls get horny for the first time, and I was like, bro, what?
And Miami, Ohio women are gorgeous.
Yes, that was
half of my school went there. So you were doing comedy in college?
Yeah,
when did you start comedy? How old were you?
18, like right when I turned 18.
How did that get in your head?
Well, like kids from my high school started it at the Funny Stop, and so it like became like there were like probably 4 or 5 kids that had tried it from my high school, and then the owner loved it because then a bunch of kids came in and paid $10 for 2 sodas, and like I went and watched, and like the thought where you watch an open mic and you're like, when you first start,
I
you're
can do this.
Yeah, I can at least be better than the worst guy. I got a lot of false confidence at the beginning because I was inviting so much family and so many friends out. I was like, I was
crushing with my friends.
Yeah, I'm doing the hackiest one-liners of all time. Mm-hmm.
You didn't do any theater or anything like that, or any stage time?
No, I was always I was definitely like super class clowny. I was the lead in 4th grade. I was Tex Glitter in the Hoedown Throwdown Christmas.
Okay. When you got to college, then you had already done open mics.
Yeah, I had like.
How far was home from Miami?
I'm from Akron, so it's 3.5.
Okay.
So I'd done like comedy like once a week at the Funny Stop, and then I get there and they have a stand-up comedy like student org. Mm-hmm. So I joined that, and they have like a weekly feedback writing mic on Tuesdays, and then every other week they have a show on campus, and it was just everybody. It was a showcase. Everybody did 10 minutes, and it was usually like pretty packed out. So that also gave a false sense of confidence, because then I just like would come up with shitty jokes, and then I would have all like my college friends come out, and they're just hammered underage, and they're just like, dude, this guy is hilarious.
You're way better than everyone.
Yeah, and I'm just up there. Like I go back and watch the videos, and it's frustrating because I will never hear those kind of laughs again, where just it's unconditional love.
That's not true.
And I know, but I'm watching myself and I'm cringing so hard. And I'm like, what I do now is better.
Let's go back to high school for a second. Other than DMing fat chicks to have sex with you, what were you doing late at nights? Were you a night owl back then?
Oh yeah, I mean, I was definitely like getting my getting my feminist get owned videos in at 3 a.m. before I had to wake up the next school day. I loved being on my phone. Freaking love my phone. I loved video games. I loved playing video games so late. Once drugs and alcohol got introduced into life, then the nights got real late.
When did you start drinking?
14. I started smoking weed like around
before that or same?
Like right after that.
Okay.
For sophomore year, it was like on weekends. Then junior year, it was like a couple times a week. Then senior year, I was just coming in. Well, they also invented dab pens when I was in high school, and that's just like, yeah, I could just get high at school all day.
Yeah,
this is crazy. Then college hit.
Got to blow.
Yeah, and then
Miami, Ohio has the good stuff.
Yeah, and
rich kids.
Rich kids, and then just like also, and it's not even that, it's like the amount of weed. Really, I'm like, man, every day, and like, yeah, that's what I did in college, which
sold weed.
Yeah,
hell yeah.
And that
is it legal in Ohio?
It is now.
Okay.
Like just got. I was in the National Guard.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Christ.
which I did that, and then and so I was in the National Guard. I was serving at Go Bananas, and I was selling weed, and I was making so much money in college. I will never see that amount again. I was getting a stipend from the military every month of like $750 for being in school. Every weekend clearing like $800 from serving at a comedy club, and then I was in a frat selling drugs. I had like probably a six-figure income.
Cadillac with, like tinted windows and shit. Were you like a?
No, I had a decent car, but I like spent it so frivolously.
What were you buying?
Whenever we would throw parties, I'd just provide. Like, I was so like chivalrous with my girlfriend. I was like, I pay for everything. Got a super nice place. I never had to pull out any school loans. Yeah, drugs and alcohol. Like racking up tabs and paying for drinks for people, and just thinking like I'm the man and thinking it's gonna last forever.
Experiences over products. Mm-hmm. That's good. Other than the nights where you're partying, were you doing anything productive at night, or you just? No,
I never. See, I consider like night like I'm extending my the time that I get to have dopamine put into me. I never think of it as like, oh, this is extra hours of the day. I don't consider it part of the day. Yeah. So like once like night hits and like I'm supposed to be in bed, I'm just like, well, I'll just watch Instagram reels and continue to consume those until like the sun comes up.
So what time are you waking up then?
Well, that's the fucked up part. Is now like I used to be able to be a guy who sleeps in like in high school and stuff, but then ever since I got militarized by the National Guard.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So when you're in the National Guard, you have to go on Saturdays? How does that work?
One weekend a month, and then 2 weeks in the summer, but it like usually ended up being more than that.
That's it?
Yeah, just 1 weekend a month. And then like the other thing is
why did you do it? For the money?
Well, yeah, it's free college in Ohio. Okay. And then you get and then the job I picked, I got a stipend.
Okay.
I was a cable line installer, put internet in buildings. I was very good at it.
That's in the National Guard?
Every job you can think of is in the National Guard. They have doctors.
Yeah, that's true. But you got to do that, and then that's it? And you got paid for it?
Yeah. Well, my unit, they're like specialized to like go into the field to establish like communication lines for like FOBs. Yeah. So like when they build a new base, they run so they can have radio and internet to it.
Yeah. And that was your job?
That was my job. And like the National Guard, the thing about them is that they actually get like deployed pretty often. So the unit I was a part of like got deployed as soon as I was gone, because I had to drive from Illinois to Ohio 1 weekend a month for like dog shit, like $250 for the weekend, which I do to host. But
I was just gonna say, are you talking about?
I'm getting paid less this weekend to go to Toledo. Yeah.
Okay, so you got militarized for 3 years, and then you left.
Oh yeah, now I wake up early all the time. Yeah, that's why we started to talk about. Man, I am really bad at like staying on track. I'm
88. We're both. It's fine. So 3 years there. You say you didn't finish at Miami, Ohio.
I did not.
What happened?
So I did a bunch of mushrooms when I was at a party of comics one time in Cincinnati, and I was like, "What am I doing, bro? I just want to be a comedian. Why am I staying an hour away from Cincinnati when this is the place to be? This is where comedy's happening. Go bananas!"
Such a good club.
It is such a good club. I have a tattoo forever on my arm.
Really?
Yeah, a bunch of comics in Cincinnati got it, so it's not that cringe. So I did that, and I was like, I gotta be in Cincinnati. So I actually transferred to University of Cincinnati, and I did that for a year. But I was actually doing well in college. I like got above a 3.0, but then I flunked out of U of C because I was like, I lived in a building of all comics comics and like worked at the comedy club and like started getting booked on all the shows. I ran a weekly show on Tuesdays in the city. I was just like all comedy and just not even paying attention to classes. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Slowly, you can always go back.
Yeah. And that's what I say to my mom.
That's what Charles Barkley said when he left basketball. I just read his biography. He never went back.
You love biographies, don't you?
Yeah. There's like a bunch behind you. I'm a big book. I read a lot of books.
Did you read Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights? That one's pretty good. My brother got it for me.
Okay.
It inspired me. He talks about going on a long road trip and like trying to find yourself when you're like pursuing an art like this.
I'm on road trips all the time. I don't find anything. I love driving to shows. That's why like when I have shows, they'll always be like, "Do you want an opener?" I'm like, if it's like more than 2 hours, there's very few people that I can handle in a car for 2 hours.
Interesting.
I'd rather than pick someone local.
Okay.
But I always like to, or if someone asked me, like if you were like, "Hey, I'm trying to get into Skyline or whatever," I'd be like, I go, "Yeah, but I can't drive you." Because I'm coming from another place. And sometimes I am. Most of the time I just want to, that's my only time to like just fuck.
Yeah. Are you a guy who will like,
I love going
link
along.
all the road stuff along?
I try to, but I'm really bad at geography. So when you're talking about Ohio, like when we did Liberty, is that by Cincinnati?
So it's by Cincinnati. Okay. It's actually really close to Miami of Ohio because it's 40 minutes north of the city.
Yeah, like Ohio confuses me all the time and it gets me fucked up sometimes because I'll book a show and then I'm like, oh, I'll do this one. It's in Ohio and it's like, it's the opposite.
Wow. See, I'm like obsessed with geography.
Really?
Not like, I don't know. I'm not obsessed with geography. I just love like the Midwest, and I love what I know. I love to tell people exactly what I know about the geography. It's not like I know a lot.
I don't know. I've lived in Chicago most of my life. I don't know like the northwest suburbs. So I grew up in the west suburbs, and then I'm like, oh, where's that? Like, but like I doing a show in like Lake Villa. I'm like, where is that? I don't even know. And I always fuck up shit with geography all the time.
Well, I'm trying to plan it right now because I got inspired by that book to like just go like and try to do one night do like book a comedy show, but like I don't know, in Ohio, and then drive an hour the next day, drive an hour the next day, drive an hour the next day. Yeah. So like, but do you like when you go on the road? Do you like visiting the city, and do you like what do you like to do?
I like to find out like the thing to do in that city.
Okay.
You're on the road a ton.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing? What are you doing after the shows?
What am I doing after the shows?
Are you still a hornball?
I'm on a path of betterment since I stopped drinking in October.
Sober?
Sober.
Why?
Well, I just picked up weed again a little bit.
Were you partying too hard?
Partying too hard. I totaled a car like a while ago.
Okay.
Broke my arm. Just made a lot of, was getting hammered a lot. There was like one
after shows?
Yeah, like I ended my relationship before it, but my relationship got on the rocks because of it, and just like a lot of
I like your joke about that too. It's
yeah, thanks. So I was just boozing too much, and for me, like I never got done with a night of drinking. It was like, that was a pretty good time. I was always like, that's gonna fuck you later.
Yeah.
Like it's
regrets.
Always regrets. It's never like made it go up. It's always made it go down. So I'm just like, you better cut it at 23 before you're 30 and just never have done anything and been miserable.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because in my 20s I drank and partied really hard, but I also wasn't pursuing comedy. I was pursuing something else. If you look at all the comics who are blowing up, they stop drinking, and it is a big part of it. Like you have to be on. Were you drinking before you went on stage?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Like for
That's
me,
bad.
There was never a time, like all my friends, when especially my high school friends, people that have known me for a while, like every time I said that I was done boozing, now like everybody was like, yeah. Like there wasn't a reaction of, why? Like
Yeah.
It's kind of just been a perpetual like, oh yeah, man, that needed to happen.
Yeah. So since October you've been sober? Before that you were going out after shows and partying?
Oh yeah, like anytime.
Even in cities you don't know anybody?
Mm-hmm. That was my favorite thing, was to in Appleton at that Skyline.
God.
Oh man.
Everyone that's done this podcast has a fucking Skyline after show story.
Really? Oh my God. The last time I did it, these people that come out to see me every time. They followed me on Instagram and they were like, oh, do you want to come out? This is after I quit drinking. They were like, oh, do you want to come out after the show? And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm like, oh, I can't actually come out because they like. And then she was like, well, we'll just cut to the chase then. Do you want to come over and have some fun? It's just her laid out butt naked. But also this is an old photo because it had my autograph on her right breast because the last time I was there, I had signed her boob with another guy. So that means they took this picture in preparation of when I came back next time, I was going to have my autograph on her tit. And I was just hosting. Well, like she had taken nudes after I had signed her breast at the show. And then
in preparation for when you returned.
After they saw me that
time. You didn't see those nudes before.
Well, would you want to fuck me in front of my husband anyway? And like, I'm like, this has never really happened like that with women saying stuff like that other than Appleton. I think they're just so forward.
Appleton is a very different town. I love that town. I mean, it's great for comedy, but like, there's nothing to do after shows.
Nothing.
So you have to make better decisions. And the only places you can go out are the bar that's across the street or back to your hotel, but never go to that third location with the people when that closes. There's nothing else to do there.
Well, yeah, it's funny. You go on the subreddit for the town, look up things to do. They're like, the comedy club's good. And then you're like, anything else? And they're like, no.
What are you doing now after shows so that you've been sober now?
Well, now I do try to hang. I like even like spots in town when comics say we're gonna go out. I always like go out and just get soda waters because I love the hang.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people I tour with are like sober people.
Yeah.
And so when I was drinking, it was always on my own, anyways.
Yeah.
So now it's just like they don't really hang after shows. We're big daytime hangers.
Yeah.
I try to go to bed early, but you know. A lot of times my nights, like, when I'm feeling undisciplined, they're kind of taken up with, like, jacking off. Trying to cut porn out.
That's hard.
And I'm trying to cut jacking off out, too. But, man, it's
hard.
Good old time.
That's what the podcast is like. Why are you awake? I'm jerking off. That's what
honestly, like.
Vic Pondia said that on the pod. It's like, that's what we're doing. That's what everyone's really doing. But, yeah, no, it's hard. I get it. No pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, really, when I was saying that I stay up all night watching Instagram Reels, it's like I'll jerk off and then watch Instagram Reels until I get horny again. Then I'll jerk off and then I'll keep watching Instagram Reels. And the Instagram Reels are really just so I can refresh for the next beat.
Are you when are you writing then? When are you like ever write at night? You don't write at all?
It just comes to me. Yeah. Means I'm not writing. No, I get really into it's bad because like so many people I know are prolific. I feel like I'm not working because I'm not. But like I get like really motivated in waves. So like I'll go like at the beginning of the month. I'm like, dude, you haven't written a new joke forever. So I'll sit down all week until I come up with something, and eventually I do come up with something. And I'm like, I'm the fucking king for like 3 weeks until that bit gets old.
Yeah.
But I wish I was a guy who could stay disciplined and motivated all the time to be like, I got to come up with new shit all the time.
Yeah, there's some writers like that. I'm not like that either, but sometimes it just goes in waves. Like you'll be like prolific and then 1 minute you're like, I'm like, oh, tonight I'm like, I just did this new joke. And then I realize I'm like, I've been doing this joke for 3 months. It's not new anymore.
That's I legit was like, I got this new hot idea that I haven't even finished or fleshed out yet. And I looked at like when I wrote it and it said 11, like at the start of the date. And I was like, oh God, that's not new.
Yeah. It's 2 months. I know it's hard, but that's the thing. Sometimes you're like then I'm doing the same thing for like 2 weeks. And then I'm like, all right, let me bring back this old joke. Cause I haven't done this joke that like, it wasn't working, but I'm like, I haven't spent time on it either. So, but sometimes you just let it sit in the back and it comes back. I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I really try to like look at my set as like a whole set. And so when I write, I go between jokes and I'm like, well, what else could I talk about my mom that might go into this stuff?
Chunks.
And so I really like, and I try to make it flow from beginning to end. So now I've kind of like, and I don't know if it's that I've just been doing it like that for the past year or so, but now I feel like I haven't like come up with new fresh premises.
Sure.
Like just from, and so then it's really stressful to go do shows that other comics are on. Because, like, if I want to get to anything new that I've written, I have to do jokes that are, like, 3 years old first. And so then I'm like, do comics.
Why do you have to do that?
The new jokes are all written off of. They don't really work unless I've talked about like my dad's DUIs or something first, and then talked about my mom, and then it goes back and touches on both.
Establish. You'll be famous one day, and I'll say I got you on this podcast.
I'm gonna make it. I know I am.
What are you doing with the ladies now?
So I'm in a predicament where I live with my ex, but we've gotten friendly again. And now we're sleeping in the same bed, but like we're both moving out. So we're just like doing the relationship until we move.
Where can people find out more about you and your upcoming shows and stuff?
You can all find me on all social media at Carter D Comedy. And then you can find my podcast, which I'm 8 episodes in, which I talk a lot on as well, is I Don't Want to Be a Piece of Shit.
What's it about?
I started it right when I went sober because I was like, this is my lowest point. So the point is to go document myself trying to be as good of a person as I can, to not let myself be a degenerate that I thought that. Yeah. So a lot of them are solo eps. I just go into the camera and I'm like, well, life isn't going good this week. I'm trying.
It's like Bill Burr, his old podcast, yeah.
Yeah, it's but I'm like, every week I'm trying to be like, but I'm doing this. I'm doing a good thing, right? I'm working out. I'm eating greens. I'm eating meats.
Thanks for doing the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I forgot we were ending it.
No, you're good. You're good. Thanks for doing the podcast, and thank you all for watching or listening. Go to sleep.